You're listening to the Landing Page School podcast, where we give you bite-sized insights on landing page design, A/B testing, and conversion optimization. If you want to convert more website visitors into customers, this is where it all starts. And now, here's your host, Nicholas Scalise.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Landing Page School podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Scalise, and today I want to talk to you about an article that came out recently from VentureBeat. And the topic of the article, the title is Optimizely's Decision to Ditch Its Free Plan Suggests A/B Website Testing is Dead. Let me repeat that. Optimizely's decision to ditch its free plan suggests A/B website testing is dead. It's a pretty bold title, if I do say so. So anyways, this article has been getting a lot of attention in the conversion optimization community and the landing page community, just because some people are saying, well, it's clickbait. They're claiming that A/B testing is dead just because of one small decision from Optimizely. Well, I'm going to hold judgment on that for now. And I just want to sort of cover what's going on and then also talk about the A/B testing tool community so that if you want to do some A/B testing with your landing pages, you know exactly what tools you have at your disposal. If you're not familiar with A/B testing, let me just start there. A/B testing is just the process of testing two different variants of a landing page usually, and you would send 50% of the traffic to variant A and 50% of the traffic to variant B. You'd let it run for a period of time, which depends on how much traffic you're getting. And then at the end of the test, you check to make sure you have statistically significant results. And if you do, then you have a conclusion from that test. And either A is going to be the winner or B is going to be the winner, or the results will be inconclusive. So you'll be able to learn something from pretty much every test. So that's A/B testing in a nutshell. We've talked about it on this podcast. I have some blog posts about it at landingpageschool.com, and we're going to cover it in much more detail in the future. So subscribe if you haven't done so already. But for now, I don't want to cover too much of the technical details of how to do an A/B test. I just want to talk about the different tools that are out there and this article from VentureBeat. So what is this article about? Well, it's about Optimizely's decision to get rid of their free plan. Now, their free plan, it hasn't really been offered for a while, but back in December of last year, they said that they were going to sunset it completely on February 28th of this year. Now, I should mention, if you're not familiar with Optimizely, they are one of the leading A/B testing platforms. So they create the software that lets you do A/B tests. They're geared, in my opinion, they've always been geared more towards the enterprise customer. So it's not surprising that they're getting rid of their free plan. They haven't really been promoting the free plan for a long time. And this is sort of just the inevitable conclusion of of them wanting to go after a more, I guess you could say, sophisticated customer who can spend more. So they want to go after that enterprise customer. So at least that's my personal opinion of why they are getting rid of their free plan. It's just that they see a bigger opportunity in the A/B testing environment to tailor their services and to tailor their software towards the enterprise customer. So I'm talking about the Fortune 500s and these, Disney rather than, Joe's flower shop up the street. So that's my opinion on why they're sunsetting this plan. But this VentureBeat article, in my opinion, they're blowing it a little bit out of proportion, saying that just because Optimizely is getting rid of their free A/B testing plan, that it is now the end of A/B website testing, which is a little bit far-fetched, I would say, because they're basically saying that the reason for Optimizely sunsetting the plan is that people weren't getting good results from their A/B tests because they're not setting them up to be statistically significant or scientifically valid, and so therefore people are not really getting value from A/B testing, and that A/B testing is very error-prone. That is to be determined. Obviously, there's a right way and a wrong way to run an A/B test. And if you're just starting out and you haven't run one before, definitely do your research, start small, and most important, make sure that you have enough traffic to even justify A/B testing. You don't want to start testing if you're not getting a significant amount of traffic and enough conversions where you're going to get data that you can make valid conclusions from. So I think if there's a problem with A/B testing, it's not that it's just dead. It's that there are some people that are doing it wrong, but I don't think that's a reason to completely throw out the entire premise of A/B testing. Because, my business, my clients' businesses, we pride ourselves on running really good A/B tests. And if it weren't for A/B testing, I probably wouldn't even have a business because it's such an important part of the landing page design and optimization process. You have to be continually testing. And that's the other thing. A lot of times people will create a landing page, they'll run one test, and then they'll say, okay, great, version of variant B is the winner. That's going to be the page we use for the next 2 years. I'm not kidding. And that is not the right approach. You want to do what's called high tempo testing. I believe that's a phrase that was coined by Sean Ellis over at growthhackers.com. Sean Ellis is a very well-known marketer. He created a lot of really cool different frameworks, one of them being the ICE framework, which helps you prioritize A/B tests. But what he means by high tempo testing is you want to be able to rapidly test and learn from it, and then test something else and learn from that, and test and test and test. And it's just a part of your business, just like doing the bookkeeping. A/B testing should be something that you're doing pretty much all the time. There's no reason not to have a test going at any given time. Having more than one test might be a problem if you're not getting a lot of traffic, and that can be a lot of work. But even for a small business, if you have someone who's familiar and comfortable with running an A/B test, there's no reason not to have one going at any given time because you can always learn from it. The other misconception about A/B testing I see is that people assume that if the test is not a winner, if it doesn't determine a clear winner, then it's a waste of time. And that's not true either. There's been plenty of tests that I've run where we did not have a clear winner, but we still learned from it. So the process itself, it will also uncover a lot of information. And so the process of A/B testing is almost as important as the results you get from it. So anyways, getting back to this article, I'm going to link to it in the show notes. You can find it at landingpageschool.com/007. I definitely think you should check it out because you need to make your own decision on, do you think this is the end of A/B testing just because Optimizely is getting rid of their free plan so that they can go after an enterprise customer? Or is it kind of just a clickbait article? I don't know. It's from VentureBeat. I like VentureBeat. They usually publish some pretty good stuff. So I was surprised to see the title being so dramatic. So anyways, what I mentioned early on is I wanted to let you know about some alternatives to Optimizely. If maybe you're an Optimizely customer, or maybe you heard about this, or maybe you're hearing about this now for the first time and you want to start doing some A/B testing, you need to know, what software do I use? So there are some alternatives out there. Probably the second most popular platform, or the second most well-known platform, is a service called VWO, which stands for Visual Website Optimizer. But lately they seem to just go by VWO. Their website is vwo.com. And they are very similar to Optimizely, but they gear more towards the small business. They have plans that start at, I believe it's $49 a month, or I think that's if you pay annually, or $59 a month if you pay month to month. And then it scales all the way up to, over $1,000 a month. But you can get started for, $50 basically. VWO, it's a very well-used tool. They have a lot of support around their community, and they offer a lot of really cool features. So it's more than just A/B testing. You can also get heat maps. You can do multivariate testing where you're testing multiple things at once, but that's a whole nother rabbit trail that we'll cover on a future episode. But really, probably what they're most well known for is the visual editor, where you can literally point and click and make changes to one of your variants and launch the test pretty easily. That also is another thing that we're going to have to cover on a future episode, because visual editors in the A/B testing space can be error prone. They can cause issues on your site. So you do want to be careful if you're using a visual editor to run an A/B test or to set up an A/B test. But just know that VWO does offer that capability if you want to explore it. So VWO is one option. Another option is a free tool, and it's pretty new. It's called Google Optimize. So if you are already using Google Analytics, you're going to love Google Optimize. It's really not that well known yet, and a lot of people are not using it, but a lot of folks in the community, myself included, think that in the next couple of years, it's really going to steal the show, sort of like how Google Analytics is the premier analytics tool, and it's a free tool, but it's getting much more powerful. So definitely check out Google Optimize. I'll put a link at landingpageschool.com/007, or you can just search for Google Optimize and it'll come up. And so like all of Google's suite of analytics products, they have a free plan, which is really robust. And then they have a super duper expensive plan for enterprise, which it doesn't even say how much it is, but from the research I've done, it's like $150,000 a year. It's up there. So you probably don't want to go with the paid plan on that unless you're Disney. So the free plan it's where it's at. It does have some limitations. I believe you can only run about 3 concurrent tests, but this will probably change. They're going to add more features to the free plan for sure, because if you remember back to the early days of Google Analytics, it was also very limited. And now look at all the things you can do with Google Analytics. People have built entire businesses around Google Analytics consulting, which is crazy because it's a free product, but it's that robust. And so I think we're going to get there with Google Optimize. So check it out. It's free. It's really easy to use and very intuitive, but it doesn't have a lot of those little extra features like the heat mapping tool that you might get from VWO. But again, you might not need that, or maybe you're using a tool like Hotjar that already has heat maps and you don't need to worry about trying to get an all-in-one solution. So those are probably the 2 best standalone tools. So you have VWO and you have Google Optimize. There's another tool out there called Convert. You can go to convert.com. They are also pretty expensive. So I'd say they're probably trying to compete more with Optimizely than with VWO. And so I think their plan started about $500 a month. But it is a very powerful tool. It's also used by a lot of enterprise companies. So maybe that's something you'll want to check out. If you go to their website, you'll see that they're used by companies like Sony and UNICEF and Kmart. So some pretty big names. So that's convert.com. And then last but not least, all of the different page builders that we talk about so often, Unbounce, Instapage, Lead Pages, they all have their own A/B testing capabilities built in. So don't overlook that. That's really, really powerful. I would say the A/B testing tool that I use most often is the Unbounce A/B testing tool, just because I do so much work in Unbounce, building Unbounce pages. Now, the downside is you can only test an Unbounce page versus an Unbounce page, or a lead page versus a lead page, or an Instapage page versus an Instapage page. How many times do I have to say page? But that shouldn't be a big deal if you're just trying to, get some information from maybe a different headline or different images on the page. So it's very easy to set up, and those tools are included. So if you're already paying for one of these popular page builders like Unbounce or Lead Pages or Instapage, you might not need to go anywhere else. You can just do your A/B testing in that tool. There are some downsides to it other than only being able to test the same type of pages. Sometimes you might not get as robust you might not get as much analytics data from the tools, but that doesn't mean that you can't still refer to Google Analytics for your actual analytics on your different page variants. So you don't necessarily just have to, bank on all the data that's in these A/B testing tools that are built into the platform. So just do your own math, make sure you run the numbers on your own, make sure your results are statistically significant, regardless of whatever tool you use. So definitely check that out. I'll leave a link to the A/B testing specific features for each of the major page builders in the show notes at landingpageschool.com. But that's it. That's all I wanted to cover for this episode. I wanted to make sure you were aware of this change to the Optimizely platform and this article that was getting a lot of attention lately about the end of A/B testing. And to basically tell you that, no, I don't think A/B testing is going anywhere. If anything, it's going to be more powerful and more important this year and next year as more people become aware of the power of conversion optimization and the power of building landing pages. Because I think we've spent a long time trying to figure out how to run ads and how to get a lot of traffic to our sites. But now people are starting to wake up and realize that just getting traffic to your site isn't really useful if that traffic doesn't convert. So now we're seeing people pay a lot more attention to what people do on their site and building dedicated landing pages. And to be really good at that, you have to do A/B testing, but you have to do it right. So we'll be sure to cover it in more detail on future episodes. So that's it for this episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you love the podcast, please leave an honest rating and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to this show. That would be so awesome. I read every single review. I read every comment that comes in on all the different platforms. And it would be amazing if you could just take a few minutes out of your day and leave a review. Or even if it's just a rating, that's even quicker. Whatever, it would be appreciated. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can email me at hello@landingpageschool.com, or you can find me on Twitter. So just go to landingpageschool.com. All the links are there. And for the links to this episode, go to landingpageschool.com/007 for episode 7. That's it for this week. I'll be back next week with some more landing page and conversion optimization and A/B testing insights for you. So until then, I will see you in the next episode.
The Landing Page School Podcast is a production of Earn Worthy LLC.